Welcome to the Miracle Mind, and to say the 30 days to Easter, and this is day 20. And so today, what are we going to do? So how is it going? Are you having, say, great releases of self-identity, great releases of what you are not, all this? I hope so. That would be great. Yeah, so today it is an interesting part we're diving into. It has to do with specifically this. It's like identifying with what isn't and actually not doing that any longer. And then seeing that the tendency of your mind is to pick it up immediately and do it again. It's like the mind naturally does that with the place that it thinks it is. And yeah, so that's going to be interesting. Master Teacher will speak about it too, and we're looking at some of his expressions. And I just opened up the real meaning of sacrifice from the manual for teachers, and actually it tells you the same thing again. So we're dealing here with an basically a whole mindset, like a whole mind reference. So the fact that it is coming from whole mind, out of time, Jesus Christ, is a representation of your Christ mind. Now we've heard that, and we love to accept that, but the tendency to pick up the place that we think we're in, to have the people around us that we are familiar with, and all this, it's like, and that's like you say, like, well, that's inescapable, isn't it? Like, no, well, it makes a difference in what you're doing with it. And you saw this the last time we came together in the Miracle Mind too. It's like in fact, it comes down to you, and we saw this before too, but it's like you saw this before in the sense of heredity. So you can think that you are a genetic being walking around this earth, evoluting into like a perfect creature in the end. Like evolution has a certain purpose that might take 2 million years, but it will go step by step and say enter into a certain state maybe. Anyway, so we use that. We use the idea of heredity just completely connected to the memories that you represent and that you have identified with. Literally, you made that to be yourself. You made an image that you can absolutely prove to yourself is you. And you have invested into that. We've talked this many times. You've invested in it and you forgot that it's actually not you. Now, coming in the remembrance, in the memory of the presence, which is really what the Holy Spirit is like present memory, it tells you something completely different. And so that different, that's why that we're referencing with today. It's different. It is not what you think it is. It is happening right now, so it has nothing to do with the past or with a heredity. No. It's like freshly created in the moment. It is right here. It is fresh manna that we're actually, say, eating here. It is a recognition of our true identity in Source. And it has no opposite, it has no alternative. There was no choice in the first place. And so choice was just something that we took with us for a while, thinking that there is a choice, but now you're coming actually into the experience of there is not a choice. No, of course not. If truth is one, there cannot be an opposite to it. But in my experience, as I see myself, there still appears to be an opposite, or not, but yes. And so you might be saying this, I'm not telling you what to feel or what to experience, of course not. I cannot do that, and it would be absolutely meaningless. But what I want to say is this, is like the temporal releases that you might feel with the ideas that are coming to you, for instance, in heredity. It's like, how nice, how great, what a relief to be free of an, say, heretical past, thinking that that would determine who you are. How nice is it? How great it is, the release and the relaxation that takes place on a very deep level, that you're actually free of that. Now, if you take time to actually feel that, that is really something else. But it might just, say, happen in between the moments that you're listening to this, or to Master Teacher sharing to you about this. Like on a very deep level within you, there's a release taking place, a possibility for a release, for a conscious release of that. And it's like you recognize, this is what I try to say, is like you recognize your struggle with heredity, with your, say, upbringing, with your family, with your, the ones, with your ancestry, I could say. You know what is playing with that for yourself. You know how deep that is in your thought system, and how you have protected it and also supported it and treasured it. And say in the time, there's nothing wrong with that. It's not that I'm saying like you shouldn't do that, but it's more like now coming to the place where you actually see that it says nothing about you, it has nothing to do with you in reality, that can, say, help you to release something very deep. And that's great, you know, even if it happens for an instant. But I, speaking for myself, I find it very comforting. Now you can say like, okay, so then what is left? If there's no memory left, if there's no heredity left, if there's no actual occurrence that took place in my life, what is left then? And you see that the practice that we're getting into, I'm not saying that we're completely there yet, but it's like the practice that we're getting into is in fact has everything to do with the point that the Course in Miracles is helping you to come, and that is a place where you are spirit, where you recognize yourself to be spirit and not something else too. And so that feels very different. It feels very specific, you could say. It feels like your mind is set on release, on continuously letting go. So it is in a state of openness. And when it isn't, it is, excruciatingly tense. It immediately evokes a conflict in your mind when you don't release it immediately. Now that's one part. So the other part that I'm actually referring to is then this is like in the practice of continuously letting go, your mind comes in an open state in which it is in its natural state of being, where everything that you were used to, all the patterns that you were used to pick up in order to come back into, say, a time idea, into a time frame, are dissolving. It's like you literally see that continuously dissolve. Now what happens when that occurs continuously, you see that time becomes like so speeded up, that's unbelievable. So that can really entail that one moment you find yourself in a certain experience doing something, the next moment that you're picking that up, or actually releasing some more, then you see, like, wow, I had no idea that I could already experience this before, say, compared to the last moment that I was consciously releasing. So what is so great about this? Because what am I actually trying to say here? It is. I'm trying to convey a certain state of mind that is yours. Like, it is what whole-mindedness is. A whole-mindedness will not be concerned with tomorrow or yesterday or its own personality or its own, yeah. It has no motive to do anything in that sense, but it is present, and that's its only the only thing it flows back into. So it's a continuously coming back to that. That opens up for you experiences that are not of this world, literally, and are actually completely fulfilling you. It's a natural state of illumination. You could say it's a continuous state of resurrection. There's another word to say it. Or it's a continual state of rebirth, and that is the practice that we are getting into. And in fact, the main path of every spiritual path, you could say. And when I say we're not getting into that, it's like it might not be something that you're consciously aware of all the time, but it is with you anyway. So that's why I'm saying this, just to take away even the idea of a method, or even the idea of a path. You know, it's like, yeah, that's not it either. So it's when you release everything, you cannot really call it a path. It's a release. So it's not this. Like, it's not this. So in that, you open your consciousness. Or in your admittance of where you actually find yourself, if you are honestly, say, expressing that to yourself, to spirit, then the release can take place. Because if you don't do anything with it, then it can be released. If you pick it up and use it again, you actually integrate it back into your consciousness. Now, this is a very high teaching, you can say. This is very far out, and which is great. You asked me to tell you this. And so that fits in perfectly into the place where we find ourselves now. And see, the interesting thing is this, that I discover now also more and more and more in my communication, you could say, is this. It's like we're still using words. We're still using symbols of symbols, you know, instead of directly communicating in truth. And we have moments that we don't use words at all, and that we're communicating perfectly. So what I'm referring to is this, is like, okay, the only reason that I'm using words, in fact, that I'm expressing something with words, is not because it's so important what I have to say. No, just only, in fact, because of the fact that it can bring you to the place where words are completely redundant, completely too much, you could say. So if communication is instantaneous, then we just say hang out in that communication. Using words has one kind of, you could say, difficulty, and that is this, is that you take the words seriously and thinking that the words in itself have a meaning. And so my invitation to you is whatever you hear anyone express, like here, a master teacher, or when I'm speaking, like the least you can do, you could say, is go beyond the words. Because it's not in the words, it's not in the books. We know this from Joel too. It's like, it's not in the books, it's not in the words, it's not in any of that. No, it is in you. And it's in you, and it is working in you. It is communicating in you. And it is your, discipline, you could say, or your invitation, your discovery to find that in yourself. So then that means then when I'm expressing the words that I'm expressing, you actually can use that to go beyond it, no matter in what language you would listen to it. It really doesn't matter. So you can say the light is communicating, and that light, see, that is flowing through you, to you, and in your recognition of that, it is communicating back to me. If you want to think there's an exchange, there's no exchange, but it is it's like you communicate with your Father, with your source, because it communicates with you, and that's an instantaneous occurrence. There's not even an exchange, it is one. So you see, this goes already completely beyond ways to express this, which is perfectly all right. So your release of your necessity to understand what I'm saying is everything. Release the idea that you have to understand what I'm saying. But open your consciousness completely for what is actually communicated directly to you. Recognize the light that goes, that is literally like radiating to you, in you, from you, all at the same time. Now this you could say is the benefit. This is that what is given you when you come into a continual release of self-identity, completely for no reason, recognizing the meaninglessness of it. Any tendency to pick it back up again, you release that too, and you're just open to communicate. Well, so this is you get what I'm saying, right? Yeah, that's so great. That's so great. See, that communicates immediately. I don't have to do anything for it. It's so much easier. Poof. Am I done here? Yes. It's like, I'm very willing to express it into words, but it has, so it's, yeah, at a certain point it is okay. You know, it's like, yeah, I've said it. Okay, great. Well, now what? Yeah. So, wow, thank you. Yeah. Yeah. So the direct communication is so beautiful because it is present. It is right here. It is what Holy Spirit is. It is not anything else. It is right now. Well, let's see where this is all confirmed. Like, I can share this with you this way indirectly, but it is confirmed in all kinds of ways. You want to see some of that? Great. Yeah, let's do that. So, what is the real meaning of sacrifice? This is the manual for teachers. So we're talking about sacrifice here, right? So that's interesting, since we're actually looking at that. It's like the release of self-identity. You could imagine that would be a sacrifice if you believe it has any value. Okay, so here we go. 14a6, so the 6th paragraph. You may believe this course requires sacrifice of all you really hold dear. In one sense, that is true. For you hold dear the things that crucify God's Son. Huh? What? You may believe, I'll start over again. You may believe this course requires sacrifice of all you really hold dear. And in one sense, that is true. For you hold dear the things that crucify God's Son. And it is the course aimed to set him free. The Son of God, set him free. But do not be mistaken about what sacrifice means. It always means the giving up of what you want. And what, O teacher of God, is it that you want? You have been called by God, and you have answered. Would you now sacrifice that call? Would you now sacrifice that call? See, these are all reasonable questions, right? Few have heard it as yet, and they can but turn to you. There's no other hope in the world that they can trust. There's no other voice in all the world that echoes God's. If you would sacrifice the truth, they stay in hell. And if they stay, you will remain with them. Okay, so see, here are some reasonable questions. One of them is, what, O teacher of God, is it that you want? You have been called by God and you've answered. Would you now sacrifice that call? That's a deep, contemplative question. It's like, what is it that I really want? And on a superficial level, you have immediately an answer, but we're not talking about the superficial level. So we're talking about a very deep-rooted question. It's like, what is it that you want? You've heard a call. You've heard a call. So if you heard a call and you have answered, now why would you go and sacrifice this call? There would be no reason for it, really, right? No. Are you doing it? Yeah. Sometimes, yeah. And now you come back to it. It's like, okay, yeah. Now I want to do this. I'm on the path. I'm doing this. It's like, so you see that is something that's happening there. Now the whole idea of the teacher of God, as described here, is then you come to your total commitment in this, and that sounds the way it sounds to you. It's like a total commitment actually makes everything easier, because there's no temptation to go sidetrack or to do things that actually are an opposite to the call that you have heard. So that makes it easier. So you might as well just give it a full commitment. That saves you a lot of work, because the hovering between yes or no, or the idea that you think you have a choice, your mind goes nuts on it. And I speak from deep experience. Like, you can still try to behave like a normal human being. Well, good luck with that. Is it working? So, right, here's our practice. Becoming still. We do what we do. We say read. We say stand still. We contemplate. And we wonder, what is it that we really want? And we get an immediate answer in the experience that we have for ourselves, right? It's like it's instantaneous. You get immediately an answer. So if your life is at chaos, or your life is depressing, if your life is whatever the description you give it, that's an immediate result of, in fact, it's an answer to the call that you make. It's like, what is it that I want? Apparently I want this. So that's why it's good to express it. It's like, apparently I want this, because it's my experience. Now you can say, if that's an incredible light-filled immensity of expansion, wonderful. If it is not that, then you can ask yourself another question. It's like, what on earth am I doing? Why am I holding my brother in bondage? Why am I actually that insanely behaving and thinking while I know better? So you see, like, that's why we come with the idea of releasing self-identity, releasing all these ideas. Before you think you can answer to anything, release your ideas about it. Release it so you're open. Admit that you're powerless over your habits of doing things so that you can be open to receive help. Not trying to control everything, no. In fact, you don't control at all. You stay in your defenselessness, continuously caving in on all the craziness that actually pops up in your mind. Say the only say, activity that takes place is in fact the release of those ideas, not using them any longer. All right, so this is also, and you read it here in the manual for teachers. You see, it's so one thing going on. It's unbelievable. It's like, well, you've asked for this. Otherwise, it couldn't come that clear to you. Everything is telling you the same thing, really. And it's amazing. And you don't run away. So that's really great. So you stay with it and practice it. That's the only thing you can do. It's like, show up, be present, just keep doing this, keep watching this, keep repeating that, and stay in it, contemplating it deeper and deeper into deeper layers of your consciousness. Like, what is it that I truly want? I want to know what it actually is that I want, because I get the result of it all the time. And it does not affect me alone, it affects everything. Yeah. All right, so now we're heading over to the Master Teacher Radio, you could say. The Master Teacher YouTube recording. And this is from Can You Hear It? Second talk, second episode of the talk. And the second part that I used, it's like 15 minutes of Master Teacher. So,
well, can I cross over? Sure. Can I stay crossed over each moment? Okay, for the time that I'm going to remain in my perceptual association? Positively. What do I have to do that? Don't be afraid. Because you think crossing over is death. You call it crossing the bar. And you're literally afraid to look up and allow this awakening that's trying to occur in you now to proceed. Why? It's fearful to you. You say, what are all these strange minds doing around here demonstrating to this new reality? I don't think they ought to do that. People here will think they're very strange. What's more foolish to temporal man than a spiritual man? What could be more foolish than what I'm teaching you? Okay, I'm teaching you don't subsist. I'm teaching you don't lay up stores. I'm teaching you make no provisions. I'm declaring to you that this is not real. I'm telling you you can't die and that you can't get sick. That has to be foolish to you. Don't tell me it's not, because it is. Okay, one of us is wrong now. Now, maybe at that point I could get you to look at the alternative. Until then, until you examine your own relationship, you're just going to keep insisting that you're right in this. And until you look at the outcome of being right, you can't get this. Do you see? You have to look at the outcome of what you're doing instead of burying it on your brother. Instead of letting him get cancer and die. If anybody gets cancer and dies, it's what? It's you. Why would you want one of your loved ones to get cancer and get sick? Answer me. And you tell me you don't, then I'll tell you, well, don't do it then. You want a key sentence of the Course? You didn't make yourself, you dummy. You keep trying to construct yourself using the power of God. You're determined to come back to the location of yourself in time rather than questioning the schism where that occurred. See, time and eternity are obviously the opposite. Okay, so you're held within that association of a beginning and an end. And you maintain to me that's life. How? How do you maintain that that's life? How would you know if you're alive except by dying? You couldn't. You've constructed your life on dying. And now suddenly you're dead, but how does that prove there's life? See, it doesn't make any sense. It's absolutely senseless. And until you look at it, you can't get out of it. Life based on death is what death is. You want to write that down? Death is life based on death. What's the difference between life if you're going to die and death? Nothing. What's sickness but death? What you're saying to me is I'm going to get sick and suffer and perish, and then finally, as a relief for my pain, what do? I'll die. I got a good idea that I had when I was 15. Well, if you're going to have to go through the pain in order to die and be in heaven, why don't we just kill ourselves? Okay. Okay, how many times did you do that? How many times are you going to do that until you realize the futility of associating annihilation with eternity? Which is obviously the dilemma that you're facing. You ought to start to hear me here. How many times are you going to cut your wrist and say, I can't stand this? Okay, you can't escape the problem through death because there isn't any. So all you're really telling me is, I'm alive. This is what I discovered just before my awakening. That I'm alive always, and everything is always dying around me. Statement of fact. The statistics are incredible. 1 million people can die, but it's never you. This is why you don't really give any value to life. You can't tell the difference. You really don't care that, say, 20,000 babies starved to death in Ethiopia yesterday. You're concerned about one life in the Gulf. That's perfectly okay until you look at the absurdity of it. But regardless of how you look at it, you can't die. You say, well, I wish I could believe you. And I say, well, you don't have any alternative but to believe me, because you're using the power of your mind to deny me now. And it's impossible that you will continue to do that when you discover that you're causing your own pain. You literally will not do it. Why would you? Is it necessary that you accept responsibility for the cause of this? How else are you going to get it? You're the cause of your own pain, right? Is all pain self-inflicted? Don't do it then. Stop doing it. Well, that's easy to say. Well, it's easy to do, too. Don't do it. Don't blame your brother. Now you don't like what I start to tell you. Okay? Why? Inherent in you is the shared guilt of your own association. He has to be responsible for what's happening to you. Now it's gotten much too easy for you. You're going to say, well, we all know that. Well, you don't know that. If you knew that, you'd be in heaven. Well, I certainly like the way you present it, teacher, and I'm going to consider it. Go ahead. What good's that going to do you? You're going to have to accept it, guys. Did you accept it? Yeah. When? Now? Did you take it? Did you get it just now? Oh, I just felt that. Oh, what happened to you? You dirty guy. You dirty guy. Did you see that, Rosie? Did you feel that? Yeah. She had a knot. I don't talk about. There was a. We all came from the pancreas. The Pleiades. Did I say pancreas? Is that the pancreas out there? Yeah. Did you know that we all came from the pancreas? There's real esoteric talks about the relationship of the ductless glands with what's happening. That's well and good, but you'll have a tendency to reduce it and go to the manager clinic to be studied about your new brain waves or something. Am I creating frenzies in your brain associations? Yeah. 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 You're having what you term epileptic seizure associations. Can you hear that? Did you ever see, if you've seen somebody in a grand mall, that's a lot. That's why. The difference is that you're looking at it as beneficial rather than retracting it. Remember that all of the reality has always been around you, but the explosion of the necessity of the understanding in the perceptual brain literally causes a contraction, which is a seizure. It's called a premature awakening, perhaps, which is the same as a premature Kundalini awakening. That is, if you're, or through drugs, you attempt to stimulate your endorphin associations, you can bring around some very bad trips in your association. Schizophrenic, or paranoid, or manic depressive, which is the three things that we're directing you to here. Can you get this outside of the religious vernacular? Yeah, but why should you, if the lesson is all-inclusive, dummy? But you ask dumb questions. Can I get this without using the vernacular? All the vernacular is unreal until you bring it into associations. You got to bring that into associations with some of you guys I know real well, you know, when I recognize you. Does that mean that our associations have always been pleasant? No, that means they've always been finally unpleasant. Yes. Somewhere. They're associated with love and death and all the things that we've done together here. Yes. But I wouldn't be here if I wasn't your teacher. You can deny it, but that won't mean anything to me. Why? I only teach one thing. And you only deny one thing. Me. It's impossible that I'm not true because everything is true. I'm teaching you to relinquish judgment in order to see that rather than hold on to judgment and try to identify truth. That's crazy. Trying to tell God what He is. He already knows. Who is He? You. So much energy here, well, I probably have to have a little quiet time. What I don't want you to do is, I want you to take the reasonable accord of what I'm saying to you and bring it into this new association with you through the inclusion of your own concepts. Otherwise, you can't get it. No matter how much illuminated energy I give into a conflictual association, until it's prepared to relinquish its associations, it won't do any good. I suppose it'll benefit from it. Certainly, I have no intention of causing you pain. People who come into association with this energy many times leave much happier. I've had a lot of people go out and do astonishing things. Okay. That has nothing to do with what I teach. That has to do with their demand to remain here and accomplish something in sickness and death. Can I stop them from doing that? No. No. In energy, this is a sorting out process where if you are ready within time to bring your own associations into this and become a savior of the world, this is the course now. Or will you simply remain no thing? Now, you will not define yourself as no thing, and you will feel the accomplishments of the power of your own mind. But you will also take on the responsibility for your time associations, do you see? Therefore, all of the things that you love and cherish will become rusty, get old, and die. Okay. I'm right back to where if you don't look at that, you'll continue to do it, won't you? Is there a change in time going on in this room? Very dramatic. Okay. Okay, the only place there is in all the universe is here. Okay. When you came into the door this morning, you walked into a time warp. I wish I could teach you this. Think of, how do I do that? How can I do that? Think of, this is chapter 13. Think of time as being nothing but continual, congruent continuity of thought. See, all time is going on all the time. Okay. If you come into a situation locating yourself in space-time, in your own mind, and let go of that association, it automatically will formulate in a broader, later range in your time associations. That's what's happening here now. You can call that a holy instant, but I'd rather just have you look at the fact that this is the time of your resurrection. In the Course, Jesus must do it 100 times. He says, today is the day you did it. Today is the day that you finally found it. Why? Why did he do that? Why does he say that? Because today is the day that you did it. Expect God now. How could he come if you didn't expect him now? The whole problem is you put off the expectation and continue to participate in your previous thought forms. How can you get out if you do that? Answer me, somebody. You keep pretending you want to get this, but you won't do the things with your mind that you have to do to get it. You are the denier of it. I understand that for the first time you're seeing a way out of this. Those of you who are getting excited about it, I assure you, you should get excited, because this is a way out for you, if you're ready to hear it. Now, can you deny me and go back out into the world? Yeah, but I shortened some time for you. Because this time when you suddenly discover that you're dying and the heart begins to pound, you're going, you say, uh-oh, yeah, now I remember that now. I can remember now, I'm passing over. I'm out of the body, and I feel all of this lovely light energy that's always been around me. What's happened? For that moment, I've disassociated from the body. Those of you who have had death experiences have had this one. And it's real bright, and you know every answer there could ever be, and it's getting better, and it's getting better, and it's better. Here you are again. See, somewhere the two things don't meet, do they? Huh? Of course not, they can't. Now, all I'm really asking you to do is advance the time to your final association so that you'll be here just a moment in a total reflection of your own reality. Know ye not ye must be born again. Huh?
Know ye not that you must be born again. Well, see, that also fits right in our alley, you could say. It is just one thing going on. That's so great. So you saw a couple of very subtle things happening, or it's not really subtle, but it's to hear it and to say hold it in your mind is quite something. And maybe I already lost them. I don't know. So I have to listen again. But this has to do with this. It's like the whole idea of expectancy, you could say. That's one thing. It's like the expectancy. You hold off, is what a master teacher said. Like you hold off the expectancy even for what is possible now, just to keep doing what you're doing. And this is so good to recognize in yourself that you're actually doing that, so then you can release it. Otherwise, you keep putting it off. So, but it's so tricky what your mind can do with it. So when you're in resistance, you won't hear it. You don't even know what I'm talking about, or you don't even know how to look at any of this. And that is what's so amazing here. So we're talking about something very subtle that is so non-graspable at a certain point. You can only hold it in your mind for just a second, and then your mind already does something with it. So that's so amazing. So the other thing was a recognition of you. So like the whole idea of say, if I see somebody sick, you could say, if I seeing illness or pain, it is me suffering that. It's not someone else. It's like it's not someone else doing that. No, it's exactly what is happening to me. It's happening in my consciousness. So I hold ideas about it. I still keep myself here to let that occur. And I keep my brother here at the same time. So that's another thing. So the third thing that comes to mind is this, is that you have been denying just one thing. It's like, that's why we're here. You're just denied one thing. And what is that thing? That is me, recognizing me for what I am. That's the one thing that you did not do. Otherwise you would be in experience of communication. So the one thing that you continuously do thinking is that it's about the talk, it's about the words, it's about this, it's about that, it's about your future, spiritual awakening future. It is about having the right books to do it. If it's like whether it matters if it is The Infinite Way or A Course in Miracles, or who knows what your considerations are. It's like it all has nothing to do with that. The only thing you're actively doing now is, say, denying me. I'm here as your savior. I'm say, giving you everything as your savior, ready to pick you up, so to speak, ready for the recognition of total communication. And what do? You are concerned about form, about something else, about this, about that, and you lose it. And you occupy yourself with it, thinking that you're doing something great. So that was the third thing that came to mind as a very subtle thing that your mind is so used to be distracted. It's like, no, it's not about the form. No, it's not about me as a personality. No, it's about the Christ that I represent, that is speaking through me, not having to do anything with my personal investment in this, or with my, like, you are that far, or who knows what you might think. It's like, no, all that is only defenses for not accepting me now, right here, as your total savior, being completely, setting you completely free of any kind of concern. So that was another thing. So there's number 4, number 4 coming to mind. Wow, let's see if that comes back to me. Oh yeah. So this was a bit what I was talking about in the beginning. So my shirt starts to dissolve in the background. Anyway, so the thing I was talking about in the beginning too is that you pick up something else. You have experiences of love and light, and you pick up something else to go out into the world, say, do something with it, and say, coming to great things, really beautiful, incredible things. But that has nothing to do with the realization that you had. So you still find yourself in a limited perspective, doing great things on the Titanic, you could say, like having the most incredible inventions on the Titanic while it's sinking, while it has nothing to do with anything. It's temporal. Does that take away something for you? I don't know. So, see, the discipline, you could say, whether there actually isn't any, I said that to you too, is to stay right here, not having any distractions in terms of, oh, I can do this now, I can do that now, and that will become great, and that has a goal in the future, and yes, and boom, boom, boom. Like, no, none of that. No. The whole thing is here. It is caving into this moment and nothing else. It's like the relinquishment of my ideas and my idea about myself, of what would be great, what would be greater, and what is the greatest. Coming back to the question really is like, what is it that you really want? If you are completely honest with yourself, then you see that that's a real possibility for you to accept this now. Now you can hear me, of course. So like, this is the time that you heard it. Jesus repeats this 130 times in A Course in Miracles, or something like that. It's like, this is the time that you heard it. This is the time that you actually accept what I'm saying. See, that can only happen now. That cannot happen tomorrow or in 20 years when I study the Course some more. Like, that would be a complete waste of time. There's no, say, benefit to studying the Course in Miracles for 20 years and coming to the same place as where you find yourself now, still having to come into it completely. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, yeah, you can start your course group here. You can have as many meetings as you want, but in the end, it is just about your acceptance of this, and that can only happen right now. So what is your problem? Why are you delaying? There's no reason for it. See what I'm saying? So that was another one. That's great. So you don't have to memorize this. That would be mean for me to say to you, isn't it? Like, you don't have to memorize this. No, you just have to accept it right now. That's all. If you do that completely, why would you be concerned with anything? Wow. So this is great. I'm really happy that we take time to actually listen to what Master Teacher says, and you see how that, say, lifts up, you could say, the whole Course in Miracles. You've never read it like this before, or never heard it like this before. And this must be the time that you, say, are hearing this, are able to actually hear this. What an incredible gift, unbelievable. Imagine that you are accepting this in this instant, which you are doing, and that there's no such thing as sickness, that you never have to go through another death episode, that you never have to do all the things that you did for so many lifetimes, repeating the same cycle again and again and again and again, just by changing your mind about yourself and keeping your mind active in remembering this. It's like coming back into the experience of right now, right here, and accepting your brother as the Christ, not anything else. Like, he is going to set you free, and you're just going to wait, in a sense, like you're going to wait until that occurs with you, not with your brother, with you, accepting that. Marvelous, marvelous. So, like I said in the beginning too of this meeting, like, that creates a whole new experience of yourself. That literally opens up a whole new experience, because the only activity is then to stay right here and not anything else. Let every idea, say, die in this moment, coming back to this right here. All right, we covered it. We covered this. It's like beautifully coming together, so lovely. So thank you for, say, allowing me to share this with you. In fact, say, thank you for inviting me to share this with you. Like, what I want to make sure is that you know it's coming from you. My present happiness is all I see. Unless I look upon what is not there. Interesting, huh? Unless I look upon what is not there, my present happiness is all I see. If I look on what is not there, I can't see. It's like I can't see my happiness. But if I look upon, if I release what I look upon, let me just start over. Unless I look upon what is not there, my present happiness is all I see. Eyes that begin to open see at last. And I would have Christ's vision come to me. Tomorrow? No, this very day. It's happening today. It's right here. And it's not because this lesson was already 20 or 50 years in the book. No. This is, it's like given to you in this moment, after all that we have heard today. I would have Christ's vision come to me this very day. What I perceive without God's own correction for the sight I made is frightening and painful to behold. Yet I would not allow my mind to be deceived by the belief the dream I made is real an instant longer. So this day I seek my present happiness and look on nothing else except the thing I seek. See it as a focus. Perception as a focus. What am I looking for? What is it that I really want? This is the day I seek my present happiness and look on nothing else except the thing I seek. With this resolve, I come to you, Father, and ask your strength to hold me up today while I but do your will. You cannot fail to hear me, Father. What I ask have you already given me, and I'm sure that I will see my happiness today. My present happiness is all I see.